Hey everybody, this is Robert Burke, and today I wanted to talk about the new prototype that is now complete and will be heading to Kickstarter very soon. It's called Operation FAUST. Operation FAUST is a bluffing game set in World War II in occupied France, and you are working to recover priceless works of art before Hitler's Third Reich comes through and loots them. So these are the components in the game. We've got some forged document cards. We have a whole bunch of art cards. We have a bunch of plot cards, and I'll talk about these in more detail. I'll try to just give you a general overview of the game and how it works. Then we have a bunch of intel tokens. Represents the intelligence that you gain, that your spy network is gaining for you. And of course there'll be a rule book, and we've got some player aids as well. The player aids tell you everything you can do on your turn, as well as give you a list of all the plot cards in the game and how they work. Okay, so here's the game all laid out. Operation FAUST supports between 3 and 8 players. It's a very social game, and it's all about deduction, it's all about deception, it's all about bluffing. So the intel tokens are going to be in the pool here, and they come in denominations of 1 intel, and then there are 3 intel, and there are 5 intel tokens. And every player is going to start with 5 intel to start the game. Every player is going to start with 2 plot cards. Now there are 26 plot cards in the game, in the plot deck rather. And they're all labeled on your player sheet here, and it will tell you exactly the number of each cards, and it will tell you that both on the card, like you can see here, this tells you that there are 6 spy cards in the deck, and it will also tell you on the player aid that there are 6 spy cards in the deck. Every plot card also has a hand ability labeled by this hand icon, and a table ability labeled by this arrow icon here on the bottom. So on your turn, you can do one of 4 things, and that's labeled up here on the top of your sheet. You can recruit. That means you will pay 4 intel to the intel pool, and you can gain another plot card to your hand. The hand limit changes depending on the size of the number of players in the game. You can recover art. So when you recover art, you need to pay 10 intel to the pool. Then you can draw 1 piece of art off the art pile, or you can draw a piece of art out of the art cache. And the first player to get $1 million in black market value immediately wins the game. So getting these art cards is really key to the game. And you'll see here's an art card here. It will tell you the title and the name of the artist. And these, by the way, were all paintings that were actually stolen by the Third Reich, or they were successfully saved from being stolen by the Third Reich. And on the bottom here, every painting will have a black market value. So that's how much the painting is worth on the black market. And if you get to $1 million, you win the game. So this is just a normal painting here you could recover for $275,000. But there are also degenerate paintings, which will be stamped a degenerate on them. Here's one by Paul Klee, Swamp Legend, and it's marked here with the Nazi logo labeling it as degenerate art. This degenerate art is still worth whatever the amount is on the bottom. This one is $325,000, so you can still count this towards your win at the end of the game. However, degenerate art can be confiscated by other players, and about half of the cards in this art deck are degenerate and half are not. So I'll talk about how degenerate art can be stolen by other players in a minute here, but just know that these are more vulnerable if you collect these. There are also some forgeries in the art deck, and you'll see these have a red border. They have a value as well, but that value does not count, and you cannot win the game if you have a forgery in your hand. So there's a couple ways to deal with that. If you have a forgery, if you draw a forgery, you can trade it. There's ways that you can use your plot cards to trade forged art for real art with other players. Or you can acquire one of these forged documents. Now, if you have a forged document, it will cover up one forged painting. So if I have this forgery by Raphael, and I have a forged document to cover it up, now I can count that value as $375,000 towards winning the game. If I don't have a forged document, then I cannot win the game as long as I hold a forgery like this in my hand. So those, and there is a forged degenerate painting as well. So that's the types of paintings in the game. So, so you can, on your turn, you can buy a new plot card, you can buy a forged document for 3 intel, you can recover art for 10 intel, or you can play or claim one of these cards that are in your hand, or you can lie and claim a card that you don't have to use its ability. If you lie and are challenged by any player, you have to give them half your intel rounded up. So if you are challenged by somebody and you do have the card, you have to show the card. Like if I use the spy and somebody says, I don't believe you have the spy, and I show that I do have the spy, they have to give me half of their intel rounded up. I then have to discard the spy, however, but I can draw back up. I can replace that card by drawing another one for free. And you can always draw up to 2 cards. If you ever drop below 2 plot cards, you always get to draw back up to 2 plot cards for free. So let me show you some of these plot cards, and I'll go over the abilities with you. And again, they're all on your player reference sheet. So in case you don't hold something in your hand and you want to remember what its ability is, you can look here and you can lie about having one. So the most prevalent card is the French Resistance card. So if I claim a French Resistance card, first of all the plot cards have 2 different abilities here, a hand ability and a table ability. If you claim the hand ability, that just means I can keep this card in my hand after I use the ability, and I could use it every turn as long as nobody challenges me. If I use the table ability, these are more powerful, that means I have to put it face down on the table, and if nobody challenges me, it goes through. If somebody does challenge me, I have to show it as normal, but no matter what happens, this card is going to be discarded at the end of that turn. So it just means you have to discard it when you use the table ability. But again, you always get to draw back up to 2 if you drop below 2. So the French Resistance, there are 11 of these in the game. And the hand ability here is it allows you to take 2 intel from the pool for every French Resistance that you claim. So if I had 2 French Resistance in my hand, I could say, I have 2 French Resistance, I'm taking 4 intelligence. So I would take 4 intel. Now if somebody calls me out, I have to show them both, but again, as long as I have them, I get to replace them, so I would get to draw 2 new cards. So that's the French Resistance hand ability. The French Resistance table ability, I would place it face down, and I get to draw 2 new plot cards from the top of the deck. Then I can look at all 3, because I have 1 left if I started with 2. And now I can have to discard 1 of these. So it lets you basically get through the deck to find a card that you might be looking for, is the French Resistance. All right, the next one is the Spy. The Spy allows you, there's only 6 spies in the whole plot deck. The hand ability lets you secretly look at any 2 cards in the art cache. So I could look at these 2 cards, I could say I have the spy, I'm going to look at 2 cards, and now I can see I have a regular piece of art here with 275, and I have a degenerate piece of art with 325. So now that I have that information, if somebody else buys that art before I do, I can follow it around the table and remember where it is. So for example, that degenerate art, there's a card that might let me confiscate that from a player. So that ability can be a very powerful one, as long as you can pay attention to where those cards are going. The table ability for the spy lets you discard, or I'm sorry, for every one you table, and you can do multiples here as well, like you did with the French Resistance, you get a 3 intel art discount. So if I table a spy, I can buy a piece of art then for 7 instead of 10. So I get, if when I table 2 spies, I could buy it for 4 instead of 10 because I get -3 discount for every spy that you table. Or you could just table the spy to get 3 intel for every spy that you table. So that's the spy's ability. After the spy, we have the art dealer. And let me show you the art dealer here. So this is the art dealer. And by the way, all the photographs in the game are historically accurate photographs from the period. They're real spies, they're real art dealers, they're real French resistance, and we'll have a bit of history to go along in the rule book, hopefully, that can talk about some of these figures who helped win World War II and were involved in recovering art during that period. So the art dealer, there's only 4 art dealers in the whole game. So the art dealer has a very simple hand ability. If you claim the art dealer, you can gain 3 intel from the pool. So I say I have the art dealer, I'm taking 3 intel and adding it to my intelligence pool. If you discard the art dealer, the table ability lets me trade any art card that I've earned for an art card that's held by any other player. So if you have a painting that's not worth a lot, or maybe it's a forgery, you want to get rid of it, or maybe you know a player has a more valuable piece of art than you have, you can play the art dealer face down to force a trade with that player. There's 4 of those. Then we get into the double agent. Double agent is probably my favorite card in the game. Here's a double agent. There are only 3 of these cards in the plot deck. And the double agent, that photograph is by a real British spy. His code name was Garbo. His real name was Juan Garcia. Awesome story. He was the only spy to be decorated on both sides. He infiltrated Germany and he won the Iron Cross for Germany when he was really a spy for Britain. And then he was decorated by the British as well. He's the guy that basically convinced Hitler that Normandy was going to be a diversion. It really wasn't a diversion, but Hitler believed the false intelligence and did not send the Panzer divisions so crucial in the Normandy invasion. But anyway, his hand ability allows him to steal 3 intelligence from any other player. If you discard him and use the table ability, he will let you secretly look at any art card on the top of the art pile or that any other player holds. If it says degenerate, remember I had the degenerate art? The degenerate art here is labeled degenerate. So if this was in another player's hand, I could use my double agent to look at it. If it says degenerate, I get to keep it. I can add it to my collection. So art dealer, or sorry, the double agent, a very good card to have. There's only 3. And then the last card, and probably the most powerful card in the game, is the Allies card. And let me find one of those. There are only 2 of these in the whole plot deck. So the Allies card, very simple hand ability. It lets you, if you'd like, you can use the hand ability to take 3 intel. But it also protects you from the double agent and the art dealer. So if the double agent says, hey, I'm going to take 3 intel from you, or if the art dealer is going to try to force you to trade art with them, you can say, no, I have the Allies card, you can't touch me. Of course, you can lie about having the Allies card as well. But if you're caught in a lie, again, you have to lose half your intelligence, round it up, and then the ability goes through if they have the card. The discard ability, if you discard the Allies and do the table ability, it lets you look at all the art cards held by any player, and if they have a forgery, you can confiscate it. So that's always a really great ability to win the game, especially if you've invested earlier and got a forged document card. Maybe I'm very close to winning the game and I think somebody has a forgery. I can discard this, force them to hand over their art collection, and if there's a forgery, I confiscate it, and my forged document card covers up that forged art, and I can win the game. So this is a really great card if you get it towards the end of the game when you're within striking distance. So that's the Allies. So that's it. There's only 5 different roles in the game, but each role has at least two different abilities that they can perform, either a hand ability or you can provide the table ability. So you're going to just play, you're going to bluff your way around, you're going to try to locate art, you're going to try to follow the art around the table, figure out where the high value art is, try to upgrade your art by trading your less valuable art for more valuable art. You're trying to gain intelligence to be the first person to get to $1 million in art value and win the game. So Operation FAUST, we're done with the play testing now. We are we're going full speed now on getting all the graphic design and the artwork done for this game so that we can launch our Kickstarter. But the artwork is great, beautiful artwork. Like this Raphael painting here was actually stolen by Hitler and has not been recovered to this day. So nobody knows where this Raphael is. In Operation FAUST, that appears in the game as a forgery, and a pretty valuable one at $375,000. So we really had 3 design goals here with Operation FAUST. We wanted to create a bluffing game. We really love bluffing games, you know, where you can just relax and have a good time and laugh with your friend and try to figure out who's lying, that kind of stuff. But we didn't want any player elimination, so that was a big part of our design. One of our design goals, a major one, is to have a great bluffing game with no player elimination. We also wanted to tie it to a theme more than you'll see in most bluffing games. So we really did a lot of research on this era of World War II and the paintings that were stolen and the different characters that were involved and historic figures that involved, and tied that theme into the mechanics of the game. You're really spying, you're trying to get that intelligence, you're trying to figure out where the good art is, get enough intelligence to recover it, and then you're trying to hold on to it to win the game. And then the third thing, you know, we also want it to be a pretty quick game and support a lot of people. It supports up to 8 players. So you can have a large group, and it plays in about 30 minutes. So it's a quick, fun bluffing game that we think is tied to the theme. It has a little more meat in it than most games. Bluffing games, not most games, but most lighter bluffing games. It has a little more meat than most of the lighter bluffing games that we've played. And it has no player elimination. So we think we have reached all of our design goals in Operation FAUST, and we love this game, and we hope you'll enjoy it as well. So hopefully this gives you a good idea of how the game works and how it plays and what's it all about. So if you're a social gamer, if you like to laugh and have fun and have a little bit of strategy, if you like deception and deduction, trying to figure out who's got what, trying to steal the good stuff or trade off the bad stuff, trying to being able to lie in a game to get what you need, being able to call people out when you think they're lying and win some reward for doing that. That's the kind of game this is. So it can create those moments where you think somebody's lying, and you challenge them, and sure enough they are, and you've caught them, and then you get a windfall. So those kinds of things happen all the time in this game. So again, my name is Robert Burke. I hope you enjoyed this brief overview of Operation FAUST, and we'll be showing you more as we get closer to launching a Kickstarter. Thanks.